All right, welcome back to our Basic Legal Concepts series. This is where us as lawyers are giving you a little bit of information about some of these basic legal concepts. Again, this is not legal advice. This one is about LLCs. What are LLCs? You hear about them all the time. Everybody's talking about them. What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? LLC stands for Limited Liability Company, not corporation. I made this mistake a lot in law school. Limited Liability Company. You could think of this as basically an empty box. It's a legal entity that you could go any number of different directions with. You could tax it as a C Corp. You could tax it as an S Corp. You could tax it as a partnership. You could have it as a sole proprietorship. You can go any direction with it. That's why it's so popular, because it's very, very flexible. This is why this is our preferred entity type. One of the things we emphasize as a firm is you want to be careful about which state you actually make one of these in. Because remember, the tax part is governed by the IRS, but the state, the actual entity structuring part is governed by state law. So you want to pick a state that has good LLC protection provisions. You want to pick a state that has good business-friendly LLC protection provisions. One of the things we really emphasize is charging order protection, which is if you have a creditor that comes after your company, if the court is allowed to break up the company and liquidate the assets, that's not good. In many states, they provide what's called charging order protection, which means that the best a creditor can do is issue a charging order against the company. This means that every time a distribution is made, the creditor gets a piece of it, which is not that great of a thing for creditors because they can't control when the distributions are made. That's why this is a very popular entity type. It's one that we really recommend, and we recommend always finding a state with charging order protection. Wyoming's a good one, Delaware is a great one, Texas is a good one, Florida's a good one, Nevada's a good one. There are many good states that have good charging order protections. There are some states that we won't mention that we don't recommend. But this is a very popular entity type, and it's one that's very flexible. You can have one person own it, you can have two people own it, you can control the distributions. As far as profits and loss goes, you can allocate it in whatever way is agreed to between the parties. It's an entity type that became popular in the 90s and was approved by the IRS in the 1990s, and now it's basically all anybody's using anymore with certain exceptions. So LLCs, great entity type. Whether or not you recommend them really depends on what you're trying to do. It depends on how you set it up. But think of it as like a build-a-bear of companies. You can structure it in whatever way you want. You just have to be careful about the way you structure it and make sure that's matching what your goals are going to be. That's what firms like us help you do, because we can look at the tax advantages, the disadvantages, and make a recommendation about what to use.